What is happening, Kayla? Welcome to the green room as usual. We're not listening to Whitepad audio because this playlist came on and claimed to be copyright free, and I'm digging it. So that's what we're hearing right now. I cannot see the person's name, but that's what we got. Hopefully, I can see like movement on the screen via volume, so I hope you can hear me and we don't have any more screw ups like sometimes happen. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. It's a special holiday for yours truly, and maybe some of you too. Never know if you say, we're listening to Whitepad audio. Wipe that. Oh, man. Wipe that audio. That's going to be my record label. Like, after FFOP radio takes off and I start producing music, wipe that audio. Shit. I'll give you 2% commission on that name, Kayla. Once the checks start rolling in, don't you worry about a thing. As usual, just getting a few things ready behind the scenes. Tube's got to warm up inside machines and so on. So, thank you for your patience. However, I will. There we go. It's like when the movie's about to start. These are those terrible, what you call it, previews that, like the slideshow they play before the previews in the movie theater. 2%, here I come. Yeah, just you wait. Wipe that audio. Holy shit. We're put up mixtapes and 45s. All right, guys, just a little while longer here. We'll be ready to go. We haven't reached our full 5-minute mark, and I've got... it's going to be, like, it says for the holiday I've got something special planned, but it's not going to last long, and you'll see why. But, it's for the holiday, and I feel... I'm going to tell you a story once we're out of the green room, because it's germane to the holiday and needs to be part of the show, not this. But... it'll all come together, don't you worry. And I felt like such a rube. But that's the way it goes sometimes. All right. That's about 5 minutes. We'll start getting ready here. Or not ready. I've been getting ready. I'm trying to get this thing all booted up. I did some computer switching a while back, and I would like to try that again, but I've been slowly piecemealing it back to what works. Because the new computer, I swear to God, should work. However, I think this older one has a better graphics chip. Or something, GPU, if you will. Chips are probably not, they're out of fashion, de rigueur. Welcome, Matt Willis. Thanks for slacking at work. All right. Okay, we're listening to Aaron Lyons is the The person on YouTube, go check him out. This is it's a 3-hour mix, and it's, chopped up into tracks, which, here's the thing, with like vaporwave and like chillwave, sleepcore, mall soft, all these various genres, it's easy to get lost in the reeds unless you're like, how everybody says all rap sounds the same or all country sounds the same. It's very difficult, even for me as an enthusiast, to like, not realize that everything sounds the same in these sort of genres. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get rid of that. We'll start doing some real stuff. Hold on.
Dog. Cat. Mouse. Turtle.
I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
welcome to the show. My name is Dave. It's Flamingo Friday the 13th, if you haven't noticed. I found out slightly too late, and here's how that happened. But before I get into that, thank you for joining us. Krista, my producer, has now stepped into studio.
Hi.
Here's the thing. It's Friday the 13th, right? Unbeknownst to me. Oh, P.S. I made this mask if you like it. No special orders because I don't have the time. But sitting at my desk, doing regular old work, and someone walks in wearing a Jason mask, but it's all rhinestones, and it's like the rainbow flag and like the chyrons here, the chevrons, not the chyrons, but the chevrons were like huge and awesome. And she's like, "Happy Friday the 13th." I'm like, "Oh my God!" And what annoys me is like I was at work for like half an hour before it sunk in that it was Friday the 13th. I'm like, "Oh God damn it." And I've got a wall of these things over there. You're only seeing one. I've got a wall of them. I picked the one with the hole in the side so it would make it easier for you guys to hear me. But what a ripoff. And they walked right into the office. I could probably have done that just as easily because everybody there is like, pretty lax. Friday the 13th, everybody. Happy Jason Day. P.S. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Everybody in the typing square, I appreciate you showing up. Here's the thing. We're going to be jumping back into James Hanzey, the corrupt Buckeye Lake, Ohio chief of police. Let's give you a little bit of catching up, because if you didn't see the first one, or if you maybe forgot, where we left off was the auxiliary officers. Everybody who comes in for their 16 hours, whether they be auxiliary police, the taser person, or whoever.
The trainer guy.
Right. And the thing about that is I'm not sure if, because I haven't looked into it, and I can't infer anything from the implication going on in this interview, but it feels like everybody who was getting 16 hours who either quit or got fired or wasn't, the ones who were still technically on the job were probably getting that, but everybody else was probably going into Hanzey's pocket.
Right.
I mean, I'm just guessing because, like, who else? Like, especially in a government job. Like, let's say your civilian job, we're just like setting you 16 hours a month, because whatever, for ha-has. Like, I get not giving a fuck about that because it's so little and it's not a legal entity. When it's like a city or a state or a township or whatever, like, that's criminal, Jimmy.
Right.
That can be criminal.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. So that's where we're leaving off. And he's the interviewing detective is about to pivot his topic or whatever. So we're not going to be on this 16-hour bullshit for long. And P.S. I'm about to take this mask off because I can't drink with it on. Now I got this great line on my head.
That's awesome.
But I also got this cool pewter mug. Because here's the thing, if you're going to drink mead, you might as well do it out of something that looks like this. I need a horn one at some point, but like, what else would you drink it out of? I found like, whatever, this is not important, but Amazon was pitching me like this wooden survival bowl where it's like, hey, take it anywhere and drink water out of it. I'm like, Sure,
Sure,
but
my
here's
water
the
bottle.
thing. There are a million bowls that you can drink water out of in the forest or whatever that are collapsible. Mm-hmm. And this is just like a big-ass heavy wooden bowl.
Just stick it in your
Mask
trunk.
straws. Jason Mask straws. So, yeah, that was the thing. The idea here, the problem is, Kayla, like, yes, functional, possibly, pain in the ass, probably. Because as you see, these holes in this mask are not super big. So you would have to install a straw permanently so it would always be in your mouth. Or you're just going to have to, like, play a game of cat and mouse trying to thread that straw through the hole. Because they're not all going to be like, whatever, part 4 or whatever this is, where the huge chop is out of the side. I think maybe that was part 6 when Jason comes back. Sorry. Anyway, let's get into James Hanzey, shall we?
And, you know, they only got root down.
But that's fair to say, though, right? That
Yeah, I
they
forgot
get
about his
60
arms.
It's fair to say.
It's also fair to say
Tiny
you're in
arms.
charge of that. Ultimately, it's your department, your responsibility to make sure those numbers are accurate.
Mostly.
Them numbers were never, ever in the whole world ever meant to be accurate. That was just a summary of what we've
I'd be
done.
willing to pay
The
to
only
see a
thing
Jason
accurate
mask with a
in it-
permanent straw built in. It's gotta be like those straws that you have,
Like a crazy straw?
kind of, but like the ones that you have, people have them on their heads, and
Right,
it goes into
so
the beer
here's the thing.
cans.
Not that we have to divert
gonna
any more
doing
from
it.
this, but check it out. I could, because there are, like, let's say, because I have to start from scratch, obviously. I'm not going to destroy one of my beautiful showpiece masks for one of this. But, like, if I were to put it like that, and with the straw, maybe even like a double in the both that sort of go into one and double up the action, they sell those ones that are like sunglasses or whatever, and just like hot glue it. And if I were to put, like, you know, whatever, some 3/8 or 1/4 inch tubing at the end of it, I could run it through like my sleeve or whatever, and just go around slurping people's drinks, dropping them.
Slurp.
Yeah, just like throw, because you like the mask would be on, the chunk would be the in. You'd have the two things that would go up into the eyes, you know, as the glasses, and you could go around slurping. Does anybody remember that old commercial? That it was a salsa commercial where, like, this guy was like, I need more mild salsa. And he had like 2 bladders in this coat, one with mild, one with hot. And he was at this Mexican restaurant where they give you the free chips and salsa, and he was slurping it up with a siphon, and he had the tube in the thing, and he'd go. And so by the end of the commercial, like, you know, it was for a restaurant style salsa. So by the end of the commercial, his like jacket is inflated to an insane, like, Marge Simpson at the candy convention degree, when he like turns to his right and there's an inflatable woman sitting next to him, and he goes, oh, look, a friend has joined us. So he's going to fill her ass with salsa too.
Kayla says, hey, I didn't lose a game night this last Wednesday. Why isn't my name up in lights?
I forgot. Sorry. It's over there. If Krista will hand it to me, I'll put it up. But yeah, here's the thing. I started a new job, full disclosure, so everything is suffered as a consequence. Like, I don't have as much time to, like, craft the thumbnails and do all the things that I would like to do. Because, shit, guys, here's the thing. Like, your brain is a huge organ and is a very cost-intensive organ. I'm going to tell you this while I change this. It'll blow 20% of your body's calories. And that's, like, not even if you're overusing it or taxing it or, like, trying to get something learned. Like, I've been spending the last 3 or 4 weeks trying to learn a brand new set of bullshit. And it's rough because, like, you know, on a regular day, you're spending 20% of your calories up in your head. And I'm spending 8 hours a day trying harder than ever, like in a normal situation, to learn stuff. So it just feels like I am just burnt out like a match head that you let, you know, burn your fingertips. Boop. Pow.
She goes, I didn't think that would work, but hey, my name's going back up. Huzzah.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Tony, you know, it was time he got pushed out. We need to put like what I want is, like, it doesn't matter. This is James Hanzey. I'm so tired. See, that's what happens. Yeah, I'm so, like, lackadaisical and out of it. Like, you get to just pull my strings like a puppet, and I go, oh, okay, yeah, sure, fine. Let's get back to it. James.
And that,
There we go.
that whole thing was the very front page. That was accuracy.
And it was inaccurate because you guys missed Ritter's numbers on almost every month.
What do you
That's
mean?
another thing.
Like Ritter's numbers that he had, your call volume is actually way bigger than you
Oh,
guys
right, the call
us.
volume.
He's
You guys have more-
incompetent the other way.
Yeah, he's not paying them enough.
Yeah, and I think the guy who, like, you know, was the linchpin of all this that sort of got the ball rolling after the accidental discharge, I want to say it's this same guy. It was Ritter or some, I don't know all the characters, but like it's insane the amount of you really need to look into this because it's almost like a ring of bullies at a school. Like, it's so disorganized and piss poor. It doesn't take much more than like this dude doing 2 weeks worth of homework to be like, hey, what the fuck?
more calls and did more things than you guys claim because you didn't factor Ritter's numbers in. All of Ritter's call records, all his calls, all his stats, even his hours worked. Nobody calculated it.
The Ritter's not putting his stuff in the computer. That would be the problem there with
Okay.
call volume.
What do you mean put stuff in the computer?
He's not typing his stuff in his CRs.
Yeah,
and call
keyboard and
records.
Stuff
Should
in
be
the
like that.
computer.
Okay. So
And I wouldn't
you
know
guys
that.
go off you guys go off of that for the call logs. So you take the call logs, you put them in the computer, and then Vermaiden gets those numbers off of the computer to
Yeah,
put
he
on
gives
the
in there and
stats.
gets,
I got you.
and it's generated from the computer. So if that call number is low and it's Ritter's not putting his stuff in
Ritter's name's not even on it.
on what?
Ritter's name's not even on the list of anything that's been done. Go grab one of those packets for me.
Like, and that dude is like a full-blown cop. He's not one of the 16-hour people. He's not like an office clerk. He's like a cop.
Because we didn't grab it. Ritter's name is not actually even on the list of auxiliary officers.
Oh, sorry, he is on
part-time
auxiliary.
officers, full-time officers. His name's not even on a lot.
The other guy's name.
So-
Steve's is it?
No, so we wrote it in and put down the stats that he got, and your numbers actually rose. Instead of being down here, they actually rose a lot. So you guys aren't getting credit for a lot of stuff you're doing because his numbers aren't being calculated in that. So, I don't think your village council is getting an accurate number, really, of anything. They're not getting an accurate number of how many people are coming out to work, their hours, or their call volume.
Steve Ritter's name's not on that report.
Yeah, and I'll show you when he brings it back over here. It's not even on there. Yeah, when you open it up, you got all his call logs. So his call logs are on there, all his hours are on the call logs that he did, and everybody he picked up is on there. Now,
It's incompetence, so incompetent. Like, here's the thing, like, willful incompetence is what we're pretty much familiar with. Like, when we see it as malignant, but like then there's just regular, because here's the thing, when you see when you interact with someone like at a job or school or whatever that's incompetent, it always feels like they're willfully incompetent, like they don't want to put forth the effort, and that's James most of the time. But then there are times like this where he's just like confused. Like, it's not even like he was willfully doing it. It wasn't an intent to do wrong. He like wasn't like, this isn't something he's going to get 10,000 million% angry about.
Right.
He's just like, what?
His name wasn't on
It
it?
just blows his mind that he's incompetent in ways that he wasn't even sure existed.
He's the chief
Now, what I did too is I went back and looked at all the call logs.
of 6
and
people.
there are guys and gals that have 0 call logs. None.
What's up with
Yet
that?
they got 16 hours listed. And they're not on one call log.
Are
They're
they
not on one-
auxiliary?
They're auxiliaries. They're not on any call logs. They're not on anybody else's call log.
It's selective
either. They
thinking,
didn't
yeah.
pick up anybody. They didn't take anybody back. They didn't do a slash mark and then put their name on it. Nothing.
They usually put their name on it. Like if, let's say Tedger rode with Hawes,
Uh-huh.
he would put his name on it, and he should put Bear's name on there.
Yep.
Tedger.
Some of them do. Most of them don't. Ritter's pretty good about putting another name on there if he has somebody ride with him, and so
Right.
is a Haas.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. I mean,
Well,
they
yeah.
don't at all. So when I look at it, and you think about it from a village council point of view, if I'm looking at something like that and I want to see who's out, I see that this guy has 16 hours listed this month. So I go back through all the records, and there's not one mention of him there. There's not one log. There's not any number. There's not anything filled out that says he was there at all. So
I think it's kind of funny that he's got all these papers and stuff in front of him, except for the one thing that is the main talking point, and
His
he has
little
to,
toad he has to go get.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange, but like that's the Oh gosh, what I don't want to say it's like lightning in a bottle because it probably happens all over the place. But not unique either, but the outstanding quality perhaps about this is like it's a town so small that there's no crime, that like a police department can just basically do nothing. And that's part of it too, is like there isn't any crime necessarily being committed. These are all breaches of policy, like time theft, you can whatever, like taking car batteries or sending 16 hours here or there. It feels so like low effort and who gives a fuck. But it's kind of like spilling pepper. If you shake pepper over your plate or your floor or like a clean white surface, you go, oh man, what a hassle. But you don't like find out who did it and like scold them. But if someone were to open a pepper shaker and dump the whole fucking thing out and spread it around and draw like petroglyphs in it, you'd want to get to the bottom of that shit. And so that's the thing. You can live by the grace of people's laziness, because if you're being lazy like James here and you are just a few flakes on an otherwise clean surface, no one's going to go, God damn it. Every once in a while, just go and blow off the thing and maybe right the ship a little bit.
But then you go and shoot somebody's floor,
Right,
and then it opens a whole can of worms.
But then you got like his officers, like the ones that weren't toadies, like the one with brain cancer, he was keeping that journal and everything. He was documenting everything. And that's just it, is like it's the same, it's a kissing cousin, right, to the public nuisance, like the public professional nuisance. You can be a legal nuisance and not commit any one crime that gets you thrown away for a long time, but you can be violent and a dangerous person, but no one will do anything until someone actually dies or there's blood loss or bones broken.
Yeah.
And that was James. He was just a public, perpetual, professional nuisance, and it was, the straw that broke the camel's back and all those other, I mean, it had to happen, especially when you were on the force for 35 years and you're incompetent, maybe 20 years. If it had stayed 20 years, no problem. Incompetent. Bureaucracies love incompetence and they'll let it last for decades. But he just sat in that chair for maybe 14 years too long.
So how do I verify that?
Well, if Ritter and Haas is doing that, the only other person would be Vermate, because no one comes out and works with me because they all work day shift.
P.S. I'm not going to let him go to my home where I'm watching Cops.
So I can't.
That's what. So I don't know. Fuck you, I guess.
Can I leave?
You think my shit sucks? I don't know. But why'd you talk to them? Talk to Vermaten. Yeah. P.S. They did. Like, look how much paper is in front of you, James.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you see a problem with the way things are?
I see things needs to be changed.
Sure.
Majorly.
Sure.
And I don't have a problem changing that stuff majorly.
I could never sit in a chair for 14 years. Gonna need a bathroom break at some point.
It's too bad.
I had no clue that.
Well, look at James's body. Do you think he ever like got up for a jog in that 14 years? It's like, oh, I'll take a. Sometimes people, instead of a smoke break, they'll take like a walk break, go walk around, get the blood pumping. You think James ever gets up out of his seat once he like is on the clock, whether it be his Barca Lounger or whatever creaky, pathetic. Like, imagine, like, how much shit Stephen McDaniel's Fat Detective gets. Imagine the chairs that James has blown through over the years.
Steve Ritter is not on that
Well,
list.
for instance, see January here? We actually wrote in Ritter and Jackson because Jackson actually wrote with Ritter, I think, that one day that month. So we wrote his stats in there, his hours in there anyway.
I'm gonna sit here and read this
James,
thing page by page.
He reads like he's trying to ascertain the location of treasure on an old pirate map, and he's out in like the middle of the desert or something. He did the same thing with his Garrity rights. He reads like he's like it's 112, and he's like trying to find like pieces of 8.
James needs to follow my example. I bought myself a kick scooter. I
Did you
named it
really?
My midlife crisis. I don't know what a kick scooter is.
I'm not sure either, so you're gonna have to explain. But if it's the what I'm thinking it is, it's pretty cool.
you know, and then Andy Davis picked up Bartow, and Bartow got 7 hours that day. But Bartow didn't get 16 hours in that month.
Dope.
Now, there's times here that Bartow is our bailiff,
Okay.
and he would do the bailiff. There would be no call log for him.
Is there any record of that?
Sure.
Does he sign in or something, or do
No, no.
That's what I'm saying. Is there,
Sure, there's records of that. Would he sign anything? No. Sorry, no record. I meant to say no a lot.
do you have anything that's written down for that?
No. He comes in and
Like
he
a
would be the
razor
bailiff.
scooter.
Then what's the question was, is there a record of that? Yes. Was the answer. They said, does he sign anything? No, there's no record of when he's the bailiff.
Just kidding.
All right.
We just bought Elliot a scooter too.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing. Not to divert this show yet again needlessly, but like in high school, the Razor scooter fad came and it hit its peak, and then it was like the housing bubble where like everybody had them, and then by the time you saw like the knockoffs at J.C. Penney of all places, you knew the fad was dead. It's like when fidget spinners were in like at the the checkout of any dollar store was a fidget spinner. You go, okay, the trend is over.
This is over.
That's right about the time I got a Razor scooter. Now I was already of driving age, but it was like $20, and I was able to con my parents into buying it. So I threw it in the back of my trunk. And one day, here's the thing: when you are a car owner in high school, and none of your other friends are, you are a very important figure because you take them all to Taco Bell. But when you throw a Razor scooter in your trunk and then you go, "Smell you later, bros," and you scoot off toward, the fast food place down the street, it's hilarious.
See, Vicky Glover's still on. When is this one? 17.
That's January 17th. She was already been gone
Yeah.
half a year at least.
See, this should have been updated. He goes in the computer and gets this every month because he has to change that from month to month. January, February, and then New Year would come in, put the 18.
Well, you see your total calls for service is 93.
Mm-hmm.
That's not counting Ritters.
See?
So
Now
is there
this
a lot
number, if that number is off, then Steve Ritter's not putting his CRs in our computer system because this is generated from our computer system.
Gotcha.
So if that number's off, then Steve's not doing what he's supposed to do, and he's hiding his CRs somewhere.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not finding them because I'll see them in
Why
the
would
book.
he do that?
Yeah.
Right. But
It's
that's
his job.
Yeah, but who?
If that's how they get paid, or whatever.
But they don't. It's all estimates. They all put numbers on pieces of paper. They crush them into a ball and they hand it to Mary and they say, "Smell you later, bitch," and they all end up with between 16 and 80 hours.
But I don't go in and check every one of them in the computer.
Why would I? I'm just the boss.
I'm
But
just the boss of 4
You're
people.
right. Ritter's name ain't on this.
Right, it's not on a lot of them. So the
Didn't
reports
know
are just
that.
generated like that, and then they're turned to city council or village council like that. So, and there's,
You know what? I never even thought to even think of that.
yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of it.
What do you do, Jimmy?
Wow.
Were there any times, Jimmy, that you claimed some hours that you didn't actually work?
No.
No. What
There's
about that
hours
cop?
that I work
Would there be any reason?
that I don't put down on my timesheet.
So you work an extra hours and not claim?
Yes. My phone would ring constantly.
I love
and I'd have
Buckeye
to go
Lake
out.
so
I'd have
much.
to go out. I never put all the hours down.
Right.
Because I know we're short of money and I didn't want to work myself out of a job. You can ask any mayor that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Jimmy. I got something that's going to kick that story squarely in the dick, knock it to the dirt, and then I'm going to stomp on it some more. So buckle up for that shit.
What's the most people you guys have had out at one time?
2,
2.
Yeah,
3.
At any time, any given day?
Usually 2.
Usually 2.
I would
Sometimes
work 6 to 4,
Uh-huh.
and then someone would come out at
Dolly Parton would come in from 9 to 5.
noon to 10, and they would come out at noon to give me that 4 hours to go in the office and see stuff that I had to do.
And go watch Cops at Home.
All right. So, is there any time that you would have 3 or 4 people working at once?
No.
No.
Never.
Our town's 4 square feet.
Here's the thing. If a cop is asking you something, would you ever have, or is there any reason? They know. They know already. I mean,
And he would know because he is one of those people.
yeah. I mean, whatever. Moral of the story is sometimes they will and can lie to you or whatever, but when they come to you with such confidence, right? Because everybody has tells. If you tell a lie, there's something about you that a clever person may be able to pick up. But when someone like this is basically just running through the things to cover his bases, he's like, hey, how many people work? You ever... So how do we start, right? Did you ever take hours that you weren't on, actually there for, right? That's the base layer of this cake. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, how many people work at any given time? That's the second layer of the cake. The frosting is going to be, as he pulls out sheet after sheet, that will be a master baker like whipping butter and confectioner's sugar into what will become, the icing of his demise.
Right, it would be.
P.S. Not for nothing, but I'm still hitting it strong with my analogies in real life, and that's what they are, analogies. Sometimes they're metaphors. But everybody around me at work is unaccustomed to wordplay, apparently. So they go, what? And someone said, one of my coworkers like, oh, you always have a reference for something. Like, it's not a reference. It's a metaphor. The company was the stream. If someone shits upstream, it ruins the whole stream down. That was the metaphor I was making. You always with the references. I was looking at an account. I said, this shit. I didn't say this shit because it was my boss. I said, this thing is crazy as a soup sandwich. He goes, it's a what? I said, it's as crazy as a soup sandwich. He goes, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm like, a soup sandwich would be crazy, right? He goes, yeah. You got it.
The end.
You nailed it. And he's like, yeah. That's what I love about the metaphors, right? Is like you don't need to have a cultural reference for them. A soup sandwich just sounds crazy.
It would be.
It was.
So on April 25th, 2017, you had 4 people listed as working at the same time.
Who?
You got Davis, Vermaiden, you, and Ritter.
You and Vermitten were
Now, also
somewhere,
on that
right?
day, and I've been told by 2 people, you and Vermaiden went 4-wheeling that day.
Whoops.
Over in Perry State Park, Perry State Forest.
You
Which,
can't have a soup sandwich. The bread will get soggy the moment you put the soup in between the slices.
Right. So you see how crazy it is, right? It's not a bread bowl. It's a soup sandwich. It's totally fucked. The account was fucked.
we've called Perry State Forest. We've also called dispatch and got the call runs and everything else and who marked in, who marked out, and all that stuff. You guys aren't anywhere on there. You and Vermaiden are nowhere on there.
You're four-wheeling.
On the call logs,
Right.
privacy are nothing, 0.
What day was it?
April.
All right, so you see what happened there? The rich creamery butter was slipped into the bowl and is now starting to be whipped. He's going to start lightly dusting the confectioner's sugar.
25th, 2017. It was on a Tuesday. Ritter
Seriously?
actually got called into work to cover for either you or Vermaiden, one of the two. He was not on his regular scheduled days.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember that day? Do you remember going forward with Vermaiden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was on that.
Yeah. Four-wheel. Yeah, definitely.
Totally,
We went
4 wheels.
4 wheels.
Several places.
Sure. That was on a Tuesday. And do you remember going to Perry State Forest?
We've been there several times.
Do you remember going to Muskingum first? And then they're not open, then you went over to there?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the
Do you remember filling out a timesheet for that time that you weren't at work, but actually four-wheeling? Ooh.
day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the day that you went on Tuesday, the 25th, I think it was.
What a what?
Okay, then Ritter worked for Vermaiden and I took the day off.
Okay, so you do remember that day then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you took a day off. What about Vermaiden?
Probably used sick time like I did.
Okay, so you used sick time that day?
I'm supposed to, yeah.
So you used sick
I was supposed to, yeah. I was supposed to.
time that day on the 25th to go out four-wheeling. So you weren't sick.
No, I just.
You were just
Well, I shouldn't say sick time, it was PTO time.
Okay. What is your PTO time? Explain it to me.
Personal time off.
Okay. What do you have to do to have personal time off? You just get that?
Do you guys know what PTO is versus sick time? Sometimes companies will offer you PTO and sick time in
Mine
addition
does
to
that.
holiday pay. Sometimes holidays come out of your PTO. Sometimes it's a big bucket, the sick time PTO. Shut up! Just be like, how did you... Doesn't...
He should know how PTO works.
Right.
He works.
We're all adults here. How does PTO work? You have paid time off. You ever have a job?
Yeah.
This is volunteer work. They live in
Our
a
pay
village.
stubs don't say sick time. It says PTO.
What moral of the story is? We're getting lost in the reeds of the minutia because this is one. Like with Dusty McFetridge or anybody in these situations, if there's an opportunity to talk about at length and in detail anything else, we'll do it. So yeah, hey, let's have a nice 15-minute conversation about what PTO is, what the letters stand for, what sick
Here's
time
how many
is.
hours you start with versus how many years of service.
Yeah, the civil rights wins that we had to get for such a thing.
And then we get vacation. And
I get you.
You cure so much, and I mean, if you wanted a day off, you just
Personal
say, hey, I'm
or
gonna take this
paid?
day off, and just like that day,
Right.
Vermaiden had to have said, hey, do you want to go there? And I'm like, yeah, get someone to work for me.
Gotcha.
Okay, call Ritter in.
Okay, that's what happened that day then?
Had to be.
Had to be.
So who called Ritter in? You or him?
I think, you know what? I can't tell you that. I don't remember.
Okay. But you know Ritter was called in to cover somebody's shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
On a Tuesday.
I don't know, something about his the position of his head and hands in addition to like what he's saying. He's like, I just don't remember.
Oh,
like
my stars.
he's a withering Southern belle who's like being unnecessarily aggressively questioned by a romantic suitor, and he's like, my stars and garters, Jehoshaphat.
Usually be Jeff Vermaiden by himself.
Regular time
Right.
off.
So Vermaiden would have had to take a personal day off, and you would have to take a personal day off at that point too.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you take a personal day off, how do you notate that you took a personal day off when you guys turn in your timesheets?
Should be put sick down there and then the amount of hours you took.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll draw a little penis and balls for Mary to look at when she looked over the thing, give her a laugh.
How many hours is? No, refresh my memory here. Did you take?
Okay, so here's the thing. We now, like, that was all whipping the butter and folding in the sugar, because it's like, hey, if you were to do it, how would that happen? And he goes, here's the story for that. And the guy, this dude who has his carbon copy next to him, like, this is like two little Julia Childs, one little homunculus is handing him butter and sugar. So here's what we got. All that, how it should have gone, what PTO is and what sick time is, and how it should have gone. So it's all whipped. It's going to be a 1-2 punch that I don't want to spoil, so let's do this.
Did you take sick time or did you take a personal?
Right, it's PTO time.
Okay. It's
It's PTO.
That's it.
Personal time off.
Yep.
Automatic teller machine. Personal identification number.
that's considered the same thing as sick time for you
Yes.
guys. So you don't actually have sick time. You have to take PTO time.
Right.
And you have to accrue that time, or how's that work?
And accrues.
Okay. All right, so you would have to just say PTO time across the timesheet or something
Or,
like that.
yeah, 60 or whatever you put on there. Yeah.
And that would be for how many hours?
Well, we both.
Now, what's an hour again, Jimmy? Is there so many minutes in an hour? And how does that work? At your jurisdiction, like when you break down hours in a day.
For 10-hour shifts, it would be 10 hours.
Okay, all right,
Since we took the whole day off.
gotcha. All right.
Interesting. Remember that bit of information. A workday in Buckeye Lake, Ohio, 10 hours.
For police officers.
But you do
Purple.
recall calling him in for that particular day, and you guys going forward on that particular day?
Yes, because we went to the one place and they were closed.
And that
Yes.
was it Muskingum? Was I right about that? Or
No, some other.
was Zanesville? Was it somewhere in? I thought it was Muskingum somewhere. Or that's the information I had, and then they were closed. And
I mean, we pulled the public land parking ticket, for fuck's sake. What are we doing here?
you guys went to Perry.
We went to Perry, different part of Perry,
Is the imperial hour different than a metric hour? Does a metric hour have 100 minutes?
and they had no.
Centa hours?
It was the next day they opened up. But the one trail that we did go to was already open.
I gotcha. Okay. And then you had to go to
I gotcha. Now here's the red folder.
that trail. So that was on.
He needs dividers. Woof.
Make sure I have
This thing's as thick as a phone book.
a paper right here. That was on the 25th, right? That's your timesheet, right?
He's got all the Sarah Boone letters in that binder.
can't quite see. I need
12
to.
hours, 6
Yeah, you see the problem I'm having with that?
Yeah,
Huh.
that should have been, I didn't even finish this week.
Right. That's because somebody grabbed it and made a copy of it because they knew you were out four-wheeling when you were supposed to be at work.
So what he's looking at is a coworker's copy of his timesheet that he surreptitiously snapped and or snagged and made a copy of.
That's why that's there.
Now,
And because they were
Listen, if you want good butter, you want Kerry Gold. I know there was some like kerfuffle or whatever, but woof.
concerned
Parkay.
that you were taking time
Don't
off
you dare.
and doing things and claiming time for work.
yeah.
So that's why there's a copy of that. You probably did actually finish that timesheet, but that's a copy of the timesheet up until that point.
I think we do have the finished one.
And we do have the finished one.
And it
So,
matches.
yeah, so that's your handwriting.
Probably
That's your
that's my
signature.
handwriting, yeah.
You claimed 12 hours that day.
Yeah.
12.
Huh.
What was the number
Got
we
some
heard earlier?
OT.
When you weren't there.
Well, I can tell you this. If you go out there and look right now, Steve's isn't done for this week.
Yeah.
Probably some fraud on that too that isn't finished.
Better go ask
And
him.
you know what? I just
can't believe
whipped
it's
it
that
out
electric
and didn't even
butter.
think about taking that day off. That wasn't taking that day off on, trying to rip someone off.
Oh, definitely
You
not
know,
trying to rip someone
I
off.
just should have do like I do it now, which is fill it out as I go. But
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go get the
But
other one.
that
I should
day
have
here,
just got it all at
someone
once.
may have taken and pulled the copy off it, and I know who it was, Steve Ritter. But that was not done on purpose. And
Yeah, so that's the thing. He's going to, hopefully, if we get to the end of it, because here's the thing, I'm not going to stretch this into 3 episodes. We're going to go until I'm sick of this shit, and then we're going to toss it like a body over the side of a boat. But he's going to be like, Steve Ritter's one of my jobs, Steve Ritter, this and that. And that's the thing. He's like the shittiest detective in the world because, not to spoil it, he'll be like, he wanted my job, he did this and that, and he'll go, our detective interviewing James will go, no, I can guarantee it did not come from that guy. And then James will go, was it this dude? And he'll go, yeah.
Not trying to rip
And
someone off.
now
It was
give him the
totally
12 hours.
accidental rippage.
Rip Taylor?
that was not done to steal anything from anybody.
Okay.
Well,
Here, the nail in the coffin, right? The one nail in this coffin of this story is the extra 2 hours. Because if you say, well, we both requested that day off and we both did a whoopsie daisy and just took the 10 hours out of regular time, you go, oh, well, clerical error. You see how shitty our police station is. Whoa. But to throw another, here's the thing. I've never taken a sick day, whether I was sick or not, or playing hooky, and then padded another 2 hours on it to be like, just to make sure I get better or whatever.
right.
Okay, but you see the problem that the issues that were raised, Jimmy, are legitimate issues.
I can see it.
Because if they're coming to
I
your
can see
house,
that,
if you're
yeah.
sitting around, and I'm not saying it's true, I'm saying that's what they're reporting. If you're sitting around watching TV when you're on duty, they feel like you're stealing money from the village. If you're going out and riding four-wheelers on a day you're supposed to be at work, and then you claim time on it too, that's a problem, man.
Well, I can see that being a problem. That wasn't done on purpose.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
Then why to the extra 2 hours? Does that get asked?
And not PTO. It was hours worked.
Right.
Say on that same day.
Check here and get to the end here.
A lot of paper flipping has to happen.
Licking the fingers. Blech.
And out of respect for you, Jimmy, I'm laying everything on the table. Like, I'm not holding anything back from you here.
I already,
Here's the
Is it like a really powerful tactic to have 2 detectives that are carbon copies of each other? It almost feels like a low rent version of like the Matrix with like 1 million Agent Smiths were like coming at Mr. Anderson, like if you had 2 or 3 dudes who looked exactly like this and there were carbon copies of each other, I can see that, especially when there's just like we have one head
It's like they're thinking with each other for each other too.
One master bald head, and this one is there to like go and run errands and hand over papers. Like, put another one on the side. That's a layup.
Here's the one that was turned in.
Mr. Anderson,
Appears.
four-wheeling on company time is supposed to be flagged as research time.
Right, because you're out there looking for crimes, checking out the places for dead bodies. Maybe people are stashing drugs out on the trail.
I mean, yeah.
You were past it, or one.
That right here. 425.
And Vermaiden was with you, and Vermaiden claimed 6 hours.
Huh.
He only stole half as much as you, which is like, what? So, in this situation, do you think that he was like, he told Vermaiden his toady, because Vermaiden, there's a footage out of Vermaiden's interview too, and he's like a toady. So do you think James here was like, yo, you should only put down 6 hours just to be safe, even though we're not technically sick, and then he puts 12 to like make the books balance? Do you think he's that smart?
Not intentional at all. I keep expecting him to drop an Alonzo Hampton Wade.
Right. Oh, no. That was for me.
He did it on company time. Right. Yeah, I don't.
You think he's at home like when he was watching Cops and they saw him through the window wearing his shorts and police shirt? Like he had like on the counter behind him was like a 24-pack of Bush and a 6-pack of like Mike's Hard Lemonade Classic and like strawberry lemonade.
Why would he claim 6 hours when he's supposed to work on Tuesday? He works noon to 10.
Oh, no.
I don't even know why that was put there. That was noon to.
Yeah, can you imagine James? My zipper came down. Excuse me. Zip.
Should have been noon to 10 instead of 4 to 10. And it'd have been 10 hours.
What time did
Echo
you
in
guys
here?
get back from that trip?
Oh, hell, I don't remember.
Was it dark?
No.
Maybe he tried to come in later, I don't know. But he put down numbers too on that day that he wasn't at work. The Ritter had to come in because the two of you were both gone. And the dispatch traffic had Ritter on there, not you guys.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Here, 4 to 11.
and you're being honest with me, that, you guys were out there on the 25th.
Oh, yeah.
So
That part I'm
that's the
totally
problem,
honest.
Jimmy. And when I turn this stuff over to Mayor Wells and to Village Council, they're probably going to have
Peggy
an issue.
Wells.
Well, you know what?
That's criminal. That's criminal, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, I
This
forgot
was not
Matt's
done
got
on
Fox.
purpose. I probably should do
Where's Scully? Holy shit. We should talk about the X-Files
my
sometime.
time sheet every day that I get done, and I didn't. That right there, the 25th, was not done on.
Here's the thing. If you guys can create 4 or 5 alt accounts and log into them and watch this show, it would really help.
Yeah, subscribe.
This close to 500 and this close to whatever, 3,000 hours of watch time. It's a milestone, apparently.
on purpose.
We only have 2 accounts. Well,
Damn
we
it.
have more.
And I can understand it looks terrible.
But Jimmy, you just told me earlier that you do it like that you make sure that you don't put that ending on there until you're actually done.
I just started doing that.
Okay, I gotcha.
Because of all this issue of them saying timesheet this, timesheet that, timesheet.
Timesheet this and timesheet that. P.S. He hasn't had any indication that shit was hitting the fan until like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Timesheet this, timesheet that. So if I were this, the main clone detective, I'd be like, so wait, 3 days ago, Jimmy? Or right after you shot that lady's floor.
Timesheet this.
Right.
And
Here's the thing, man. Gillian Anderson, she can still get it, right? I saw her. If you've seen it, it's amazing. The things that celebrities do to just like fuck around and fill time. But when Gillian Anderson did that photo shoot dressed as Morticia Adams, pretty radical. I wonder how many like TV and movie personalities and people are doing like professional radical looking photo shoots that I just never see. I'm a, semi amateur photographer. This is a camera.
Asking ye shall receive, says Rod.
and Peggy is very.
This is, Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. This is a couple
Paper.
of years
This is paper,
of people
Jimmy.
thinking that you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. A couple of years, since 2014. That's how
I
long
thought I saw
that is.
Skinner on here, but it
That's a
turned
lot.
out to be Principal
Oh,
Skinner.
Skinner. Okay, so here's the thing about this dude, and not this
And
dude.
the X-Files.
This dude in the X-Files. No, like Jimmy and this dude and how like everything goes on for years. I've been in that situation where like I didn't document anything because I honestly thought it was a dead end. And, you know, I'm glad that his subordinate had a conscience and, you know, even though he was dying of brain cancer, still had his wife write all this shit down. Like, I don't know. It just feels like a crapshoot. I was like my last job that I just left. I was in a shitty position where my boss was constantly shoe shopping. The hog beast was constantly sleeping and or eating up to 4,000 to 5,000 calories over a 30-minute period. But I was like, who do I tell? Right? I'm the new guy. And with whatever, 6-8 weeks under my belt, I'm going to go to the owners and be like, hey, you're like, this place sucks. In that situation, you just got to either document and hope someone comes along that'll listen, or, you know, it'll end up like most conspiracy theories collapsing its under its own weight. I was lucky in that I got to experience both my shitty boss and the hog beast fired. But, you know, that was by the grace of God because I wasn't documenting anything, rather. It was just me and this fat blob of shit in the in the chair at the desk behind me who'd fall asleep sitting up. Like like James Hanzey has nothing compared to the hog beast. I don't want to get back into ancient history, but oh my God. Like if you're so fat that you can sit at a desk and fall asleep without moving at all. Like I come in, that person is awake at their desk. They look at me. And in 3 seconds after not moving a muscle, they go.
Narcolepsy.
I'm partially jealous because I envy people who can fall asleep anywhere, number one. And if you are so fat that you can fall asleep and don't fall over because your base is so solid, you know, that might be worth metabolic syndrome.
That's what's going to go over. to those guys,
Yourself
man.
at work invent it all on a podcast.
And obviously, there are issues there. Now, obviously, there's some issues, whether you did it on purpose or not, there are issues there that are very serious.
Like, what issues is very serious?
Like if
A PS, bitch, we've been here for an hour and 4 minutes. Like, what sort of serious things are you talking about? I mean, we talked about time theft and corruption and absconsion with city property and falsifying documents, but like, what are you serious about?
If I did that, if I left and I came back here and I claimed that I worked that day, I'd get charged with theft in office probably. And I would get fired. I mean, I get fired like pretty quickly here.
Right.
All right, so I don't know what they're gonna do there. I don't know their procedures. Frankly, I don't care because that's between you and them.
Frankly, don't care. And whatever, why would you? But this dude is going to be like, hopefully we'll get to it because look how much video is left and what have we been doing. But I don't know, guys. It's like he wants to be a buddy, but there's, I don't know. This type of thing is confusing because again, we have Garrity rights. This all just feels like, I don't know what's going on here. Serious is Yahoo Serious or
Sirius XFM.
Sirius XFM. Seriously, guys.
My job was to find out what happened with everything.
Yeah, I did not do the 25th of April, or this, was it this year?
No,
That's right.
17.
17. On purpose, you know? Yeah, probably, I was lackadaisical in doing the timesheets every day.
Probably.
But I know how she is, so we have tightened it up very much because I know how particular she is.
Yeah, Jimmy,
And-
whatever happens in this investigation, man, I hope you guys tighten it up. I really do. I mean, whether you're there, whether you decide to leave, or what happens.
Whether
Like,
you're
Jesus
forced out.
Christ, this shit is fucked, Jimmy.
Oh,
I
I'm
hope-
sure she's gonna fire me.
I hope to God you guys get shit straightened up, though.
You know, and
Rod, serious. Okay, but here's the thing too, like, because this guy's sort of dancing around, like whether you stay, whether you choose to leave, whether you're forced out, yada yada yada. And that's the beauty of revisionist history when you don't have a camera in the room. Because, again, at my last job, my first office manager there got pulled into an office with a shut door for a couple hours.
Wow.
Everybody left in silence. And then after a little decompression time, my manager at the time goes, well, you know what? I've just decided to retire. And they go, what? You're 42? Retiring? Plausible?
And I will be the first one to look both of you in the eyes and say, yeah, we need to tighten some things up. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with getting guidance on how to do that, okay?
Why haven't I done it for the last 34 years? Shit.
But
Haven't had the time. Been so busy.
to say I blatantly ripped off this Buckeye Lake Police Department is bull. I put 34 years of my life out there. I gave them people more than anything. I lost a marriage over this police department.
You think that the
gonna assume
person,
that.
the woman who married him, left him for the police department reasons, or if you're looking here?
Okay?
Well, it depends.
I've lost girlfriends over this police department because I spent more time there than I would with them.
Do you know how many times I got half a BJ when I got a call and had to go off and solve a crime? Not often, surprisingly.
You know,
We live in a village.
Just because someone comes to my house and they see me in blue jeans and a t-shirt that says police and a Glock 27 on my side doesn't mean that I ain't working.
So what are you doing?
Doesn't mean that I don't have something in the mix going on. You know, Mayor
That's like the quarter teaspoon of salt that you put in the cookie recipe, claiming to be as important as the flour or the sugar. Except the salt never made it into the bowl. It was in the shaker by the TV watching Cops.
Foster,
Stephanie
Mayor
Giovanni.
Carroll, knew every time I would be working out of my
The
house.
way he accounts for time, it's probably more than 34 years.
I would say it's probably less because he pads his time clock. So maybe it was only like 31 years, but 4 years, that was time theft.
House has the same things the computer does at work. In fact, Oleg, you're not running at your house, I hope.
No.
You're running them at work. Why go home?
Because it's more peaceful
Wouldn't trust
for one
him around
thing.
a buffet.
The phone's not ringing 300,000 times. Then
Right, because you would be like, hey, James, you want to go to a Sizzler? And then, like, you end up like Homer at the all-you-can-eat fish restaurant, ending up suing the dude, and you're embarrassed.
chimes on the door's
Just
not
the
ringing
gravy.
on and off. Bing, bong, you gotta walk out through the other side of the office. It's more peaceful, and you can get more stuff done.
So why don't you work at the office instead of going home to watch Cops, Jimmy? His answer is because people are always there. Phone's always ringing. People are trying to talk to the police or come to see the police to solve problems. I can't get my work done with all these people. Warren Buffett. You guys.
Steve Ritter don't come in and stand at your desk and do this for 45.
Jimmy Buffet. This is oh my God. Why hasn't anybody done that, right? Like, why doesn't Jimmy Buffett own like some sleazy casino in either Reno or, if you can afford it, Nevada, or like license it or whatever, where you go to like the Jimmy Buffet and it's all like tropical shit and pineapples and poo-poo platters and poi? Am I the only one thinking here? From the genius of highway hats to this.
5 minutes. You know?
I can understand that.
And trying to get things done. And Andy wouldn't come in and do all this. And you're trying to get something done. It's like being pulled 17 different ways.
7 people, 17 different ways. How does Buckeye Lake manage? With a population of over 600. What do you do?
Like you're Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, it's impossible to do. I understand that.
I was always... So here's the thing. Poi...
What is poi? Is that fish?
No, it's like a mushed up root, and it's apparent. I only know of it tangentially because, like,
Let's talk about poi.
because I'm an old man and old men talk about old things, all of my references to poi are from black and white feature films. or whatever. Still very old stuff, but poi is like this mashed up root. Yeah, there you go. It's a root that it's like, depending on what piece of media you look at, is either like a disgusting mash that is like, because poi might be like rhubarb. I think poi is a root that, like, unless you mash it up and masticate it and do a bunch of shit to it, it hurts you like rhubarb does.
Oh.
But
Rhubarb hurts you?
yeah, rhubarb is a toxic. There's something in it that's toxic. So unless you prepare it right and cook it like with strawberries or rhubarb pie, there's a way you can do it. It's like fugu fish or whatever. There's a way to do it where you can eat it safely. But like raw rhubarb would be like eating milkweed or like poison ivy. It's like very fibrous and kind of, it's not good.
I know you can make mouthwash with rhubarb and
I don't know
vodka.
if poi is cooked. It's definitely smashed. So I don't know if the smashing and the adding of other ingredients, like the mastication, maybe they had sugar or whatever. But it's one of those cultural foods where you go like, what the fuck? I understand because you had no other choice. 'Cause, like whatever. You see like tamarindo candy with like chili and fish heads on it. And you go like, beggars can't be choosers. But poi feels like one of those things where it's like a Necco wafer.
Is it what, like, who eats it? What kind of
Hawaiians. It's a Hawaiian thing.
Oh.
So you go and like a big, you have a big bowl of poi and you would dip stuff in it. It's like, or you would eat with your fingers. But that's the thing. I'm an old man and I only have references to like the 40s.
You're
Well, it's impossible to be in your position a lot of times. It's hard.
Yeah,
I get it.
rhubarb.
I can tell you exactly, and you can just look at me and tell me it's none of my business. I don't care.
I mean, who knows, right? Because like some of the things you look at, and there are things out there that take an insane amount of human manipulation to make them palatable and or even edible, like canola oil. From the rapeseed to your fryer is an incredible process of highly toxic materials that involve petroleum products. And you say, how did we get there, right? Bread. It's chemistry and it takes a million steps. You have to wait and stuff like fermentation, like home brewing. I get that stuff because fruit will rot and yeast is wild. So that shit happens. But people who eat seaweed or squid or rhubarb or all this shit where you go, okay, well, if you eat it as it comes out of the ground, it could kill you or it'll feel like you're eating fiberglass insulation. You know, who and why did they go, you know what, God damn it, I'm going to make this work? Who was like, rhubarb, it hurts like hell to eat, but I'm going to find a way, God damn it.
That stuff coming out of there is from Steve Ritter. Steve Ritter wants
John
my
Ritter.
job.
I'll tell you what.
Every time he says that, I think of John
Ritter.
Here we go.
I don't bullshit, and I'm not bullshitting you now. That did not come from Steve Ritter.
Bingo.
Some of it had to have.
None of it.
None of it.
None of it come from Steve Ritter.
It's Andy Davis. It came to me.
Nothing in that book came from Steve Ritter.
No.
And let me tell you, let me
Say
just say
it.
this. I'm gonna, conclude. I'm gonna end the whole thing on this, Jimmy. Whatever you do, whatever you decide, I want you.
Every step you take, every breath you take, I'll be watching you, Jimmy. Unga munga.
Understand and know that we respect you. We've known you for a long time. I hope things work out for you. I really do.
You're gonna
I'm
be
sorry
fine. Are
that
you on live
got
chat?
pulled into this
Or
Yeah.
chat? Okay.
thing because it's unpleasant. It's not pleasant for me to have to investigate you. Okay, I took no joy in this, believe me.
This
but I wish you luck,
sucks.
man. Whatever you do,
I
whatever
wanna
you
be
decide,
four-wheeling.
I hope you succeed in it. And if it's this, you stay.
That's the thing about investigations that nobody. And why would you consider this, right? Because you go, when somebody commits a crime, you go, well, you investigate that crime to the fullest extent. But what that essentially means is anybody who's a suspect gets their clothes ripped off, a knife inserted at the neck, pulled down to the groin. They pull out all of your organs and your intestines and they lay them all flat and they touch them all and they see what's going on. And they'll do that even if you're not guilty. They have to look at every aspect of your life. And that's what it'll feel like, is like a complete evisceration as everybody in this police department or every investigator in that body looks at every aspect of you and talks to everybody you know. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like when you do if somebody rather commits a crime, or if anybody gets an investigation of any kind opened into them, it's merely the removal of a pebble of a dam. The water's going to start flowing through, and it's going to start ripping away, and it'll just, because when do you stop turning over stones? If you're investigating someone for a shooting and you turn over this stone, which leads to this and this and this, you go, okay, we've had enough. Let's not go too deep into that person's personal life.
Done.
Right?
Yeah. Rod says, off topic, but Little Ben Healy was John Ritter's best role. Changed my mind.
Little Ben Healy. Over Three's Company? And plus, he was in Problem Child.
Kale says the dad in the movie about Satan Satellite TV was John Ritter's second best role.
I'm not super familiar with John Ritter outside of It, Three's Company, and the he was on, what was it, whatever, classic actor, totally sad. Like, for some reason, immediately after he died, that picture of him on the couch of Three's Company where like his balls are hanging out of his short shorts in the 70s like made the rounds. I thought, what a beautiful. Yeah, that was
Problem Child was Little Ben Healy.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, okay. I haven't seen Problem Child in 30 years, but I know that John Ritter was in it, and he was like the dad who, I mean, we've all seen Problem Child. Like, the Problem Child was a problem child. The grandfather, whose name escapes me, was like a wildly famous character actor, but John Ritter was like, oh, he's totally cool. Junior. I think in Problem Child 2, he goes up against Kramer from Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah, because he's in jail and Junior is writing him letters, but Kramer thinks that Junior is JR, and when he gets out of prison, he's going to have like a partner in crime. Turns out it's just the Problem Child. Huh. That might have been the first one, because in the second one, he gets a sister who's also a problem child, and she has an M80.
Stay here. I hope you succeed. If you decide to take off, I hope you find something good for you. If you get fired, I hope you find
If you decide to get arrested.
All right, well, I fully understand. There's no animosity here. There's no hard feelings, no matter what. I hope you feel the same way.
There isn't. I understand what you guys had to go through.
P.S. The guy who played John Ritter's dad in Problem Child also played Norm Macdonald's dad in, oh, God damn it, Dirty Work. What is his fucking name? He's an old dude. You've seen him a million times. Please help me out here, people.
Burt Bacharach.
I understand what you guys are doing.
Okay, that was
But
Problem Child where Kramer
The
shows up.
mistakes that were made, and there was mistakes made.
Look up the grandfather from Problem Child. He's been in a million things. He's also the dad of Norm Macdonald in Dirty Work. I need to know his name. I know his face. Please help.
But none of them was done to rip off anybody,
Bullshit.
discredit anybody, get any extra
Debatable.
free money,
Allegedly.
or what, pad anything, or anything like that. The auxiliary hours and for Maton doing them, I should have overseen it, but when you delegate something, I probably should have just
Done my job.
What was
Checked his work.
Jack Warden?
There you go. Thank you, Jack Warden.
Big Ben Healy.
Yes, Big Ben. That's the thing. He owned was it a department store, I want to say, in Problem Child? Big Ben Healy, yeah. Jack Warden. What a awesome character actor. Almost like, he's like the angry version of Don Amici, who played the old guy who ran the Bigfoot souvenir shop in Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh.
Not Poirot, who was the evil French trapper. Don Amici and Francis Langford were the Bickersons.
make sure it was right. Or I should have just did it myself.
Here's the thing, though. When I was listening to those old-timey radio plays of Don Amici and Francis Langford, I thought Donna Michi was the lady, and Francis Langford was the man. It was Don Amici,
But when you got
not Dawn Amochi.
so many things going on, you delegate to this gentleman,
Mittens.
you know?
He's my
And
twin.
You give your work to the doppelganger, and the doppelganger does it because he's you.
You guys are good friends, I'm sure.
Meh.
I hate him.
But you believe in him.
I do, yeah.
And I believed in Vermaeten. My problem here, I should have probably
Taken a few less tonguings of my balls by Vermaeten and looked at his fucking reports sometime over the past 34 years. Because remember, before that, he was a firefighter.
Right.
just made sure that it was done right. But I had no doubt in him that because he's done stuff like that before.
I guess just for future reference, Jimmy, I trust them, but I verify everything they do.
Well, and that's what I should have done.
I mean, and that just keeps me, because since I've got some vicarious liability and all this stuff, with him or with the other detective, I got to make sure that I'm doing they're doing the things right, so that doesn't come back on me. Ultimately, you're the head of the police department. You're the top fish over there.
Was,
But
I'm sure.
But you know what I'm saying? You are.
Oh, I know.
And so ultimately, who's it come down to?
I mean, in regards to responsibility and where charges are concerned, you're the top fish, not the top dog, or a big fish in a small pond. You're the top fish in a small pound.
I know exactly.
As unfortunate as it is, it's going to come down to you.
Oh, I know. And it's going to come down when you guys give her a report. It's going to come down and she's going to let me go.
Spoiler
But you know what
alert.
I'm giving her. I lay it all on the table. There's no surprises, all right? And that's
James Hanzey is the chicken of the sea, right?
all. That's the respect that I want to show you. Is I'm not pulling punches here. I'm not hiding anything. I'm showing you my entire hand. I'm laying out for you so that you yourself, there's a decision to be made, you understand.
Yeah, fucking Vermaeten, right? That's the thing about toadies, is if your toady is incompetent, here's what you want, right? If you're an incompetent villain, a la James Handy, you want a hyper-competent toady.
Right, to do all the things.
Right, but if you are in the same league, like work ethic-wise as your toady, what's the point?
Yeah, because you'll both go down, or just you, because the other guy's not going to get shit probably.
Dracula got Renfield because Renfield somehow proved himself. Like if Dracula was like, hey, you're the new daytime dude for me, Dracula, and he pulled like a Minions and opened up the curtain in the middle of the day to be like, hey man, did you want a grilled cheese? And kills the dude. It's bad.
And these are the cards that are being played, okay?
Right, exactly.
I'm giving you that respect
Couldn't tune a work log?
to say, here, here's my
Stretch.
hand. This is it.
And I've been 150 million
To the tuna, $450,000.
% honest with you, gentlemen.
Tuna.
I appreciate
And,
it.
I didn't have nothing to hide. Just like this whatever date that was, and my hours are down there. I come in here with nothing to hide because I didn't even realize that.
Right, because if you're an idiot and you don't know what to hide, you won't hide anything. It's just nice that you can kickflip it after the fact. You'd be like, I had nothing to hide. Not because I didn't want to hide it, but because I was too stupid to hide it. Good or bad.
Right, and I don't know why I didn't.
I did a whole whoopsie daisy on Ritter's competence while I was completely incompetent.
Yeah, my full day plus
I
2
should
hours.
have done it day by day, like I am now. I didn't even realize that, to be truthful with you.
Listen, it's been a great week and a half. It's been a tight ship. We really got things on board. People are filling out paperwork, and it's been no shit, 9 days, no problem.
End of the week, you got so much stuff coming to go the second week.
I know, but you can't estimate, man. You can't go back to that kind of thing. You say you're estimating
Estimating
your
my hours.
With Vermaeten estimating the hours and you estimating the hours, and then the estimates for city or for the auxiliaries, and then you're giving that as an official document to village council who's making a public record. No, it's accurate.
Yeah, now I see where
Yeah.
she come up with this letter of accuracy of reports. Now I see where she come up with this public records request or documents or something like that.
Yeah, so I guess all the problems the mayor has with me make sense when you formally charge me with legal ramifications. Dumbass.
And I agree. I should have did a little bit more due diligence.
I should have done a little do more diligence.
Done it.
I should have been
Damn
done
it.
doing did.
When Jeff was making out the reports. Yes.
God
I
damn it,
should
Jeff.
have.
Now, Jimmy, how long have you been at Buckeye? Like your total years of service? How many years?
33,
33
34.
years, a lot of time. Do you feel in any way that the village owes you anything?
As in what?
All the time of service
Like a ham at Christmas time, you
you've given to
fucking
the
moron.
village of Buckeye, like, do you feel that they owe you anything?
This whole time, this guy has not really spoken
in this matter
aside from
here,
going and
are we
getting
talking?
something and coming back. And now he asks that?
Well, because it's winding down, and he has to try and make a mark, I guess. But I don't know.
Why
These are all
ask
so
that?
obtuse. It kind of puts me in mind of the SVU episode we saw last night, where oh my god, the guy from Dune, the main character from Dune. Anyway, he plays a psychiatrist whose child is murdered by a child across the street. And Dr. Wong has to interview him for competency or whatever. Wong's always interviewing people. And it's when it's a psychiatrist versus a psychiatrist, it feels like what's going on here. It's like you know exactly, hypothetically, what to say, except like James is a fucking idiot. So, like, whereas like, God damn it, what is his goddamn name? Oh shit. I hate it. But whatever. Moral of the story is like they should be well versed with each other's bullshit, but it just feels like James isn't even a cop.
Yeah.
Like when it was the dad versus Wong, it was like he knew what to say to make everything just sort of work. Whereas James here just like folds his arms and he's like, you know what? No one's pulling their shit around here.
Well,
Or anything.
I think it's come to a point to where, you know, you kind of get into this complacent.
You're talking about
this
the
is how
dude
it's been
from
done.
84.
Yes, he fought Patrick Stewart in like what are those like gummy cube armor and everything. What is his goddamn name? Somebody could Google it.
I've got the
The lead.
IMDb, but Patrick Stewart is way low down on the list.
Patrick Stewart was a huge part of the Dune movie.
He's all the way down here.
Kyle MacLachlan. Thank you. Yes, MacLachlan. Great actor. He always puts in mind of the same Dylan McDermott, the Pretender, because they both have like the dark hair. But Kyle MacLachlan, great actor. He plays was he a psychiatrist of like children or something? Yeah, he was like a child psychiatrist who like talked about sociopathy in children or whatever. So yeah, when Wong is like, you know, he knows exactly what to say. He's a psychiatrist. You sort of expect that. This feels like any random jackass off the street could be James Hanzey being like,
He's a pretty handsome guy.
You know, you mentioned
that-
taking a lot
yeah,
of
that
phone
a bad
calls,
looking
like,
dude.
a lot of work outside of
He was in Twin Peaks too.
your actual hours. I do
Oh,
too.
he was
I
the
do
alter
Facebook,
ego.
I do a lot of
Of David Lynch.
Maybe in Twin Peaks.
things. I don't necessarily feel like
Here's the thing. The Dune references are going to be way over my head. I saw Dune once in the early 2000s, was very bored, did not like it.
you know, the city
No
is
stars.
amazing, but you know, there may be times where you said, well, okay, I worked 8
got
hours
Sting
today,
in it.
but I did 2 hours outside of work. You know, because you probably did, but you didn't actually log those hours in uniform at the desk or anything.
Right.
I mean, in instances
You logged him on your couch watching Cops.
like that, I mean, do you feel like it's a wash when things like that happen?
No.
Really quick, here's a weird Dune reference. There's a character that isn't a major player in anything who, like Sting and like the other evil people, like poison at some point, and he has to milk a hairless cat as an antidote for the rest of his life or some bullshit like that. The movie is fucking crazy. Spice, right?
Okay, and you don't feel like the
My
village
dude
owes you anything?
experiences the exact is the same, except way back in high school, I knew someone who loved it and made these quote references all the time. He was weird enough. I still remember him.
Right. That's the thing about Dune is like
I've never seen it.
huge sci-fi epics in book form don't translate to movies. So when what's his name Herbert wrote Dune, he probably wasn't like thinking about
As a movie.
right, and it just the inner monologue's weird. The whole thing about it is weird. I didn't see the new one, but the old one was just like I don't know. I love classic sci-fi. I love hard sci-fi. Isaac Asimov, like the Foundation trilogy was great. And that's like super hardcore sci-fi. But some just like, unless you have the time to delve into like that reality, like who did this really well was Altered Carbon. Mm-hmm. They just sort of throw you into this future where all this lingo and all these things exist, but it's not because like hard sci-fi I classify as like where they're throwing around like really esoteric references in lingo or dialogue, whereas like Altered Carbon, like all their references sort of made sense. It was sort of dumbed down, but you still got the idea that like we're way in the future.
Yeah, from like the very first scene.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Hard sci-fi versus soft sci-fi feels like, at least to me, where it's like a culture so far removed that it is like literally hard to get into. Beetlejuice is better than Dune, obviously.
Thank you for all the service you've done, and well, okay, you know, I've worked this much. Yeah, they had, you know, I gave them an hour a year. It's not a big deal. You know, I'm.
Yeah, in the classic battle of movies that contain desert snakes, giant desert snakes, you basically are left with Dune and Beetlejuice, and yeah, Beetlejuice is going to win hands down.
Yeah.
No,
Michael Keaton.
Whatsoever. Okay.
I like to get paid for what I work.
I'll get paid for what
Like
I don't
said,
work.
I didn't turn in some hours because I knew I'd work myself out of a job. And that's
So what's up with the 12 hours on the 10-hour day, Jimmy?
the way it's always been.
They didn't even
I'll
ask.
give you an example of the reason why. Right before Mary left in November, December, I asked if we could get a window tint meter for $48.
In a village, 600 people, how many citizens of that village have tint dark enough to warrant you, the chief of 3 other dudes, $48 for a window tint meter? I mean, granted, it's $48. However, you'd probably have to write 20 tickets to get that money back via court costs or whatever. You need profit. He said, hey, I got this tint meter. Boop. That's a $150 ticket. When you take out court costs and all the people they have to pay, they probably make
$3.
$3.18, right? So over the course of the next 700 years, they'll probably find enough windows tinted dark enough to warrant even a bother to be like, hey, that's a charge.
No, you don't have the money.
In a village with 600 people, a tint
Seriously?
meter for $48 is beyond the budget.
$48. So that's the way we've always been in that village from day one I started.
P.S. bitch, like, have you never worked with an office mate in any job or wherever that like takes it upon themselves to buy the things that are under $100 for the office or whatever? Like, don't bitch if it's under. Here's the thing, I don't roll out of bed to return an item unless it's $20 or greater, and even if it's $20, I'll take the loss because it's not worth my time and energy to go and be like, this didn't work or this didn't fit or whatever. Like, what? Your time is not valueless. It's just, you know, whatever. We're in the pedantic last gasp of like, we've got all this corruption, all this other stuff. He's like, you know what? They wouldn't even buy us a $48 tint meter for a village of 600. I mean, even And this is unrealistic, but even if each one of those 600 people owned a car, which is ridiculous because some are beyond the age of driving and some are below, some families share a car. So let's say generously 400 cars. Even that is ridiculous. $48, James? Shut the fuck up. Who's rolling around Buckeye Lake with tint so dark
Right.
and is so far removed from your cultural, like 600 people? There are companies with that many people in it. How do you not know the person with that dark of a tint, right? How do you not know them by first name? Do you need the meter to be like, hey, Gary, your tint again. I got this meter. It's official now. Stop it.
They don't give us
Stop
nothing.
it.
We buy our own paper. We buy our own uniform. They give us a uniform allowance. But we buy our own boots and we buy our own guns and our belts and stuff that whatever the uniform allowance.
P.S. When you're looking at tint, this might be bullshit, but I was told this by people in the know. You got metallic tint, you got ceramic tint, right? The metallic tint will be much cheaper and also block like 60% less of the infrared radiation from the sun. Ceramic tint will do a much better job. However, it will be twice as much. How much is your ass worth to you? Because you're never going to make that money back, right? Whether you get metallic or ceramic tint. It's not like you can earn back that money. It's just how much of your ass do you want to get scorched and how much of basically $50 do you want to keep in your wallet to buy Funko Pop figures or whatever?
Won't cover it.
You know, that reminds me of something though, Jimmy, I gotta ask you before you take off here. You threw away a bunch of property the other day.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
No, it was boxes and stuff like that.
No.
And one of them was one of our uniform shirts.
Yes,
I didn't
yes,
see that.
yeah.
Why'd you throw away our shirt?
It had been in the back of the property room forever. So
He's saying our shirt like it's from the neighboring jurisdiction, but why would they have that?
It's ours.
Some of the stuff you threw away, was that property or just boxes? Because we found some dried up weed and all that stuff too out there.
Hey, listen. Take your Funko Pop collection, look at it and be like, hey, if I had 3 less and ceramic tint, you'd be a happier person. I guarantee it. If it's available in your area.
You understand, you gotta get court orders to throw that stuff out, right?
right, that was just dirt.
Okay.
That was just the dirt. That
It
I just
was
wanna make sure
dirt.
that
It was growing weed in
In a
the dirt.
box.
So they took the weed off. They threw the dirt away. Because you don't want to, evidence tag that.
It's dirt.
It's potting soil. It's Miracle Grow. It's dirt. It was the
I
dirt.
know, because I know that
Yeah.
procedurally, you guys do a lot of stuff procedurally that makes no sense to us. But I want to make sure that because that will get you in trouble. That'll
Why
get you
don't
in
people?
trouble.
Why don't police stations have similar or the same SOPs that they're doing
We've
the same
talked
shit?
about this. It's a matter of because there's no such thing as consistency. Smaller towns are going to get lax rules. Bigger towns, like that's the thing. Buckeye Lake is probably nowhere near even Mesa, Arizona.
Oh well, yeah, I know that, but this guy is the neighboring town. How the hell big is his town that they're not the same procedural bullshit?
What? Because that's the thing.
Throwing out
It's going to
dirt.
be a personal touch. It's going to be down to the mayor, the council. Like that's why we have local and federal laws. If everything were just under one set of rules, it would be too easy. What we need is a bunch of micro colonies and county islands and municipalities and cities and states and villages, and
Microbreweries.
we need all of them to have basically the same but nuanced in different ways so that no one can really get along. But yeah, we've talked about that before. Like, there should be a standard operating procedure for law enforcement across the country, even if it's just like big basic shit.
Yeah.
But it's not. They don't, like, up until it was probably the 2000s, like, across county lines, there'd be no communication.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you wanted to be a serial killer, you probably could get away with it in the early 2000s if all you did was do 30 feet into this county, 30 feet in this county, because they wouldn't talk to each other.
Yeah, it's like the other people didn't exist.
Right. There's like, you watch Law and Order and crime shows, reality or otherwise, you sort of get this idea that law enforcement is a cohesive body because we got CODIS and like huge databases with DNA and fingerprints. However, each municipality may not have access to that. They may not give a fuck. Like, how many times do you think James here has access CODIS?
Yeah.
0?
Fast.
No, that was just dirt.
Okay, so
We'd
you don't
already
know away
cut-
anything from.
No.
It was
That
not
stands
meant
for
to be in
federal.
there. Or
No.
they just didn't have, you don't have instruction for anything, all right?
There is a
But the FBI does have a standard. That's the thing about federal versus state. Local governments will be wildly different. It's like if you go to think about it this way. Ace Hardware. It's a franchise. So if you go to a small town in Kentucky, a small town in Arizona, wherever there's an Ace Hardware, there'll be a franchise owned by a person, ostensibly, who can exercise a little creative license. Like, we've got a hardware in Florence that has like neon and like store or like department store front windows, and it's a very catered experience, but it's a franchise owned by a person. A Walmart, which you can consider in this analogy the federal government, every Walmart stamped onto America is exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you turn left, there's the groceries, the clothes, the medical stuff, and you go to the back, there's the electronics. It's all the same. It's like a Cracker Barrel. And your local aren't going to... That's the thing. When you walk into a Walmart, there's going to be lights on all the time, even lighting, steady prices, even landscape. Mm-hmm. Your municipalities are going to be like your local Ace Hardwares that can have like a saltwater aquarium in them, like we've got in
Right.
Apache Junction. Or if you go to Florence, it's set up like an old, like almost like an Applebee's or a Shenanigans with like shit nailed up all over the wall,
it's like
and
Cracker
mannequins
Barrel.
wearing shit.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like Federal is Walmart. Federal, you can walk into and know exactly where the DVDs are, where the TVs are, and get an LG 72-inch and out the door.
Yeah.
Whereas if you walk into any municipality, you're in Ace Hardware, where they might sell walking sticks, washers, paint, and spaghetti. You don't know.
there's a bunch of stuff already boxed up that says, however it says,
To be destroyed.
Loco. You government's loco?
yeah, destroyed. What we
Did you get rid of that stuff?
No.
Okay. How do you get rid of stuff?
No,
Mark
no,
Gardner.
no.
No. That was all for me. All that weed dirt, that was for me.
All that weed dirt.
No.
that's what we were waiting.
We got a slight wait if you were waiting for it. That was Alonzo right there.
Mark Gardner.
Perfect, okay.
But we had 3 totes and we had all this stuff. The only thing we threw away was empty boxes, because we would take all this stuff that was in boxes. We had 3 big totes, and we'd write
Some dirt.
on a yellow piece of paper what it was,
Gotcha.
put it all in there, and then after that tote was full, we put tote number 1, put the illegal people are in it.
All interrogating cops will have the gotcha, like this guy has said a few times. Mm-hmm. If they don't give a fuck, it's not germane to the case, they'll have that thing they pull out of their back pocket. Someone will be like, I got you as a popular one, where you go, or okay, or like, okay, I'm with you, or like any of those, like, we're on the same page. They'll do that when they're talking about shit that they don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
That they just want to move on because it doesn't give a fuck. Like, everything James is saying, they have evidence of the contrary. So, like, the I gotcha is just like shorthand for shut the fuck up.
Rod caught it. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I think 2 or 3 of them. The only thing we threw away was empty boxes, the Patasco shirts, and
Your guys'
Your shirts.
Fuck you.
I think it was it a planner?
think so, yeah.
Yeah, of just dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, we'd already cut all the stuff off of that and weighed it,
Got
and
it.
it is actually still in there.
Right. I just don't want to see you get in more
Years,
trouble.
and that's been from, oh my God.
Right, like I said, Jimmy, I just don't want to see you get in more trouble
Yeah.
because of something like that, because that was just a big red flag.
Oh,
It has nothing to do with, it doesn't really have too much to do with what we're talking about.
Right, no.
I mean, but what does have anything to do with the accidental shooting,
Yeah.
which is why we're here?
So I was like, oh, I don't want you to.
No, I know
got
better
some
than
numbers
that.
a second, excuse me for just 1 second.
Let me go back to the AG real quick.
So here's kind of a nice part of this, because when main detective leaves, Homunculus here gets a little time to stretch his legs, but I don't know, he feels a little new, so he feels like what he's going to be doing is almost rapport building and almost like who gives a shit, but he's like, he needs to fill the space with something.
Yeah.
That kind of discharge, curiosity's sake. It was Vermaeten went in first, then you, and then Ritter.
Yeah, we're talking about the accidental shooting that we started talking about
Jesus.
an hour and 17 minutes ago, rather, that sort of got lost.
Kinda.
Somewhere.
Now, did you guys have any type of police identifiers or anything as the two people going in first?
Well, we had a pocket full of Buffalo Wild Wings wet naps. I tucked one into my shirt and I wrote police on it,
For making your police.
So he just did a verbal warning
Yes,
going in.
police.
which I could do. Like, here's the thing. If you want to walk into any business, bar none, and not get hassled, by and large, by a hard hat and a reflective vest and a clipboard.
Yeah.
This is like 3 steps below that. Like, okay, so you had no identifiers visually whatsoever, but one of you yelled police?
I mean, it's a small village, so they should know who the police officers are.
But-
There's only 6 of them.
Sure, but regardless, like if I went into a bank dressed like this and I just said, Jet Electric, and I just started pushing my way past people like into the back, like I'd get my ass stomped.
You guys didn't have any uniform, any throwovers or anything, any type of identifier that said that you were police in case a resident
like you got
encountered
here?
you. Whether
For a guy who's always on the clock like James is, why would you not have that shit in your truck all the time? Mm-hmm. Whether you're going to Buffalo Wild Wings or some other wildly successful institution of Buckeye Lake, why not have that shit in your truck?
Well, not only that, like his gun. Like
Yeah, he
police
didn't, 'cause-
officers.
Well, because he wasn't on duty. He was not on duty and would not be.
Neither
for
was
another...
the other guy who had the gun.
No, he was. He took the gun of the guy who was on duty. He said, "Give me your gun.
Oh.
You take the rifle."
I thought the other guy that he was at B-Dubs had a gun on him with him.
He might have, but that's the thing. James didn't.
Right.
He
there's a
borrowed.
badge or,
Took
we
a
had
loaner.
the vest that
Yeah.
just say police.
For making, I didn't.
You did not, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why you didn't have Ritter go in first? Because he was in uniform, correct? He was working the road that night?
He had the rifle
Okay,
and he had a flashlight.
okay.
So we put him in the back.
It's
Is why.
just a tactics thing. I mean,
Yeah.
if, it has been a defense used in court cases throughout the country if an ununiformed officer with no police identifiers enters first and gets shot and killed, that person has made that defense that I thought it was an intruder.
Yeah, no shit. And
Right.
P.S. It happened in Texas. A lady cop, went to the wrong floor of her apartment building, went into the apartment of a dude, right below her. He had no idea what was going on. Neither did she, because she was a fucking idiot and gunned him down in his apartment. Don't mess with Texas. But the moral of the story is, cops are humans too, and they can do stupid shit. Like, what's her face? I don't know her name, but she walked into that dude's apartment. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" She's like, "Show me your hands." He's like, "I live here," and she gunned his ass down.
That's crazy.
Right.
No indication that
just a
nothing
tactics
looked
type
the
thing,
same
moving forward.
in the place.
Right. Here's the thing: when you walk into a different spot, it's gonna have different furniture. It's gonna smell wildly different. I can't imagine walking into a place that doesn't look like my home, but maybe you can say, well, after a 10
Long
to 12
day.
hour shift or whatever, but like, I
Still.
can't imagine walking into someone else's house and being so checked out and not taking a second to be like, am I in the wrong?
Right.
No, here's the thing. I'm going to be in the right, and I'm going to blast anybody who says otherwise.
And you had a uniformed officer with you, and just trying to clarify,
Yeah, just like, what the
why
fuck,
not
dude?
Just have him go first, because at least you have your first line of, yeah, he's an officer, he's in uniform, you should know when you see him. So I was just trying to clarify.
And you make a good point there. I mean, it just went down so damn fast that it was.
Yeah, it seems like it, and I don't.
It doesn't seem like it because they had to get there. He had a call on his personal cell phone. He showed up, had to call the actual police on duty to show up, borrow his gun, ignore the crazy old lady who has dementia running around the streets, probably screaming nonsense. I mean,
And then to walk in and not see a person bleeding to death on the floor
like,
or anybody.
it could not have been more obvious if the lady were actually in the street waving literal physical red flags.
I don't fault you, and I don't, Sergeant Smith doesn't either. I mean, if in the heat of the moment you feel you had a duty to respond and you guys were that close and you were able to, great. Now, did you necessarily
Great.
go about it the right way? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe you could have just held the trailer, called county, whatever.
Not shot
for
your gun
safety.
onto the
last
floor.
thing we want in this county is another officer killed. We do not
I know
want
you're
that.
right.
I mean, you guys didn't have vests, you didn't have identifiers, you weren't fully completely equipped. Because what if you did end up in a shootout and Ritter's gun jams? He doesn't have his sidearm on him. Same with any of you. It's just, it's bad tactics. There's other ways to go about it. But
He did confess, Kayla. Spoiler alert. He's like, I'm incompetent. Case closed.
No one says this is exactly how you have to do it.
No
at the
written
same
rule.
time. There's not. And like I said, we don't.
Should there be, since you guys are toting firearms and have the ability to lie to people and take away their liberty? Yeah, there probably should be a standard operating procedure. But you, James, fucking Jimmy, you knock that out next year.
Fault you for that. Exigent circumstances being what they are, you're going off what you know, seems like a pretty legit thing. I mean, hey, I gotta go in there and save some.
I can't tell you how many personal calls I've taken when I go, yeah, I'll be there in a second. I pull out my own personal handgun, start just rolling around. Because if I were a police officer and I got a call to my personal cell phone, I'd be like, hello, this is 911.
Lives. That's what we're built to do. It's just how we are. So
Floor Shooters Limited, this is James Hanzey.
I get that. I understand that. So. But if anything, learning lesson, if anything. So.
My lord.
You alright?
Yeah. Haven't pounded coffee and water.
I had to pee so
Yeah,
bad.
I can. And we're talking about vests. We've asked for vests for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, there's still departments in the state that, if you get one donated, you get one donated. If you get a hand-me-down, you get a hand-me-down. If you don't get one, well, do you want to go into work?
If you don't get one, you probably work in a town where there's 600 people, and there's that's the thing. Like in Mayberry, Andy Griffith, I realize this is black and white time period, but like when your town is so small, you don't necessarily need like a Bearcat military vehicle or like AR-15s or.
I mean, a bulletproof vest probably should be kind of high up the list, regardless of how many people, because you never know.
Sure, but
over
like,
other things.
Here's the thing. How do I want to put this? You advertise your weaknesses through your defenses. Because, it's a principle that makes sense, grand scheme, but if your peacekeeping individuals show up built, designed, equipped, and ready for destruction, it's going to pull a little bit of credibility from them.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I
Especially in a small town. I don't think that, because, whatever, in a big city here in Arizona, we got Mesa and Phoenix and Scottsdale, and all the cops roll around in full bulletproof vests and tasers and guns and radios and full Batman utility belts. But like in a small town, I wouldn't necessarily expect that simply because like the virtue of that existence.
Maybe I just always thought that all police officers wore a bulletproof vest under their uniform because of their line of work.
Right, but that'll be down to the municipality again.
Yeah.
I would, again, that's one of those things where you can sort of understand the delineation in SOP, because if you've got, like, say, Superior, Arizona.
They need a lot of those.
Like, I wouldn't say so, though, because it's a small town. They probably got 12 officers. Maybe it's just, I don't know, because there are small towns that are havens for drugs, and I can see that.
That's Superior.
Or Buckeye Lake, Ohio doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I would rather see James Hanzey and company in Andy Griffith outfits where it's just like a brown button-up and not... Because that's the thing. If I wanted to go to a place where like the cops were armed to the teeth, like there's a million places to go.
Yeah.
But personal rant, sorry.
You know, that one may or may not. So, you know, I understand that. It's definitely an issue throughout the state, throughout the country. It's definitely an issue.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yep.
I got a thing in here. I just want to read this. I spoke to Randy from the street department today. Randy said Terry Small got in trouble. That Terry was caught by Jimmy carrying a battery, and Terry told Randy told Terry to tell him that Randy knew. Jimmy then confronted Randy, and Randy said he didn't know anything about it, but Jimmy did nothing about it. You remember that?
Oh, I caught, Terry was walking across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I asked him about the battery. And he said Randy said he could have it.
Okay.
Don't trust Randy. He doesn't know.
And it was an old battery that went to the siren. And then when I asked Randy, Randy said that no, he did not tell Small to have it.
Okay.
Okay?
So what did I do after that? Jack shit.
Nothing. The end.
Randy didn't want any confrontation between, just didn't want Terry Small not to come back. And so did Mark Dimmick.
Very late, Allison.
Yeah.
He was underneath Mark Dimmick at that time.
But only like an hour and 45 minutes, so don't beat yourself.
Yeah, it's fine.
So that's why nothing was done, because they didn't want any conflict.
Start from
Just
the
tell
top.
Terry's not allowed back to the
Not
street
much.
Right. But if you see this book, Jimmy, like I said, this is a book basically about Jimmy.
That's
This is Jimmy and the fuck-up-asaurus.
All right. I mean,
It matches your shirt.
Jimmy
It's
called,
red.
asked me to come in at 11, said he had a funeral me to go to. Took a cruise to the funeral. 3:20 call, said he was going home for the day.
Doesn't he look like the classic like emoji turd? Like, look at his body type. Minus his tiny little Crypt Keeper arms with the missing finger here. He just looks like the emoji of a turd.
I forgot he had a missing finger.
3:20.
How do you forget he's constantly displaying it?
My monitor is very blurry.
Literally day by day for years of you going home.
Belly.
We're just not gonna address the belly on this guy.
I'm just saying this is what this
He's
guy's
the chief
saying
of police, Allison.
over and over and over and over.
Yeah, he's like, hey, freeze or I'll go to McDonald's.
Over again.
That is.
I think they have
Andy
McDonald's in
Davis.
Buckeye Lake or
Yeah,
whatever.
because he knew the dementia-riddled lady.
Oh, yes. From the McDonald's.
But
Totally not mass
remember,
news.
this
Count
Andy Davis
you
is also former employees.
Angry Pomeranian.
It's also current employees. I'm
I
saying,
love it.
you know, they're saying the same things.
Right, here's the thing.
It's got a little tiny
What
head.
you hope for if you get fat, right? Let's say you just go off the rails and you get fat. Maybe not pleasing, but equal and or appropriate weight distribution. We've all seen the people whose fat all sinks to their ass.
Yeah.
We've all seen the people whose fat hovers around their gut or their tits, or they got a giant head or no neck. It's just like a big blob. There are some people whose bodies have specific areas where fat just will not congregate. And James, from like sleeve down, because this feels meaty, right? This looks like my arm. Like, imagine me, like, my arms, like, working through James Hanzey's shirt like I'm behind him, like it's a variety show. That's his life.
Allison says, imagine getting belly
Just-
bumped by this man. You go flying. Betty has total SpongeBob legs, too.
Yeah, when he's out there pounding the pavement going butt to gut, people know it.
Honestly, Jimmy, do you think that you're doing a great job over there?
Angry
From,
Pomeranian to fight.
let's say 2015 on, do you think that you're doing the job that you should?
Oh yeah, he's like those guys who. Yeah, I guarantee. Like he probably has that body type where, like, you see how his sleeves he has my arms, but up he's got meaty. Like if he's wearing a pair of like Dickies Walmart shorts, from where the material ends, he's got my legs.
Yeah.
His thighs are massive, but his calves are probably like mine. Mm-hmm. It's a horrifying body type.
should be doing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, why do you think so?
Because I get things done, and just because that I'm not in uniform every day of the week.
Y'all just ain't
doesn't
never
mean
seen
that
so
I'm
much
not
man
doing
before.
something for that police department. I look for grants for cars.
Hey, as a former, I wouldn't say chubby chaser, I would say fatty follower, because they were more than chubby. I don't know why I was saying that, but moral of the story is body type is important. You want the correct proportions, because like I wasn't a sloppy fatty
I don't know. I saw
lover.
David's prior girlfriend before me. I don't think she was very proportionate at all.
Sometimes, here's the thing, sometimes personality or some other factor will win. But by and large, what I looked for was the right proportions. Because if they were like a Weeble, or if they had like Hulk Hogan arms, it was typically a no-go.
That was the last girlfriend.
Whatever. But well, you make exceptions to every rule. But what I was looking for was a human figure that just had a few extra pumps on that bicycle pump and that didn't necessarily have like a bunch of lead buckshot in their ass, or no neck. It was just like a potato head or a thumb, or rather a big toe head with no neck delineation. I was always, I mean, obviously, you get desperate and you break your own rules, but moral of the story is usually the proportions were there.
Transfer equipment.
It was
James,
there.
I never had sex with a James Hanzey.
If you look
Allegedly.
for
Allegedly.
Generators for the police department, in case the electric goes out. When the electric goes out, we're done. Our department's done. Next door has a generator.
You guys can't just tie into it?
They wouldn't tie us into it.
Who's next door? A Quiznos?
So I look for grants and
Firehouse.
stuff like that. Today, I've been reading the new DUI laws and getting up on the new
I logged my hours.
unclassified misdemeanors on
17
your DUSs
today.
and stuff like that.
What does that have to do with a generator, Jimmy? Like, if the power goes out, we'll have no power. So I was looking up DUI laws.
Getting ready to put that stuff out.
Well, Jimmy, you know what? Didn't really want to go here with this, but I'm going
However-
to anyway because, again, it's out of respect for you. But, we
Out of respect.
had quite a few officers, too, say they went to your house because you were threatening suicide.
What?
3 officers told us that.
Who?
The 3 that were there.
The 3 that showed up when you were screaming about killing yourself.
The only
They said
3
that
on the.
you wanted to kill yourself because of the insurance checks. You recall that? You recall that? And the reason I'm telling you this, Jimmy, I don't even care if you answer. This job will stress you the hell out. This job will get to you. This job will take you. They'll just take you to a point where you're like snapped. Jimmy, I'm just.
Oh, right. When the 3 people,
day.
3 of the 4 people I work with showed up at my house and I was freaking out. Oh, I was still thinking of 4-wheeling with Vermaten.
I'm telling you because, again, it's out of respect for you. That if the job's getting you.
I like you, Jimmy. I respect you and I like you. Here's the thing. For me, respect and like come with like competency and like pleasing personality. And since Jimmy doesn't seem to have either of those, every time he goes, I like you and I respect you, I go, why?
You're this bad, maybe you got to think about it for a while and say, is this what I want to do?
No. You know what? The insurance check, and it wasn't an insurance, it was about my insurance on my house that flooded my
Okay.
washroom. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm just freaking sick and tired of life.
Yeah.
And everybody at that point overreacted.
But you do remember that then.
Yeah, but I didn't actually say, I'm gonna kill myself and, you know. No, I said, I am fucking, my back words were,
Who hasn't made like comedic threats against oneself, right? Like you don't go, oh my God, if this happens, I'll kill myself. Like if you work in an office, people talk about murdering themselves over minor inconveniences all the time. The fact that 3 of your coworkers who also happen to be policemen show up at your house means it was probably a little more than like, oh my God, I'll just blow my brains out. Well, anyway, who wants Subway, right?
I'm fucking sick and tired of life because every time I turn around, I get fucked.
Well, apparently you scared enough people that they were.
It scared Jeff from Maton as we were scared.
Fucking Jeff.
God damn it, Jeff.
You know what? When we're not out quadding, he's out trying to save me from potential self-immolation.
It did. It scared the shit out of
Chef.
them.
Yeah, I know it did.
So,
And he knows there's 3 reasons, well, let me use this hand, 3 reasons that I would never hurt myself. First of all, is my son.
I ain't got a
I love
finger.
that boy more than anything. Then there's 2 little girls I never, that pisses me off. That pisses me off.
What?
well, so that's meant to piss you off.
He's got some kids and stuff.
That he doesn't see? I imagine.
Whatever. There's reasons he wouldn't kill himself, and he's pissed off about that.
I mean, it's meant to show you that life is valuable, man. And if you're spending most of your life just being pissed off at the world
And time theft.
or doing something that's affecting your health, maybe you gotta look at it and just say, man, I don't want to do all this crap.
Man, you know what? I'm not going to go to McDonald's anymore. I'm sure my arms, when I look down, they look normal, but my body isn't. And I can't keep cashing checks that my arms can't, or I can't keep writing checks my arms can't cash. Because sure, the Big Mac looks like it's coming to me with normal arms, but I haven't seen my penis in 13 years.
You know what I mean? Maybe at some point
That's
you
why
just
his
say, I
wife
gotta make
left
my
him.
life easier. And I'm not saying to quit. I'm saying find a way to make your life easier.
You're just
Yeah,
gonna
it's
find
fine.
it. Doesn't matter.
These guys want to write all this stuff down. Maybe I should have been keeping a book on Andy Davis. Maybe I should have been keeping it.
I mean, maybe you're the goddamn boss.
I mean, after the shit has hit the fan, pie in the sky. Yeah, maybe I should have been doing my fucking job for the last 3 decades. Yeah, Jimmy?
yeah.
Maybe you should have. Maybe we wouldn't be here right now.
Oh, you should have been doing, what you should have been doing is being the chief of police and saying,
Yeah.
you know what, you're not doing your job right.
You know what,
here's
you're
your
right.
write-up for this.
Should have been my job.
Yeah.
To do that, you've got to be a supervisor. To do that, you've got to be an asshole sometimes, and to do that, you've got to be on top of shit.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I love you to death, man. I respect you, but you didn't do that.
But
I think we all agree on that, right? You didn't do that. So, you know, that's an issue. That's something that, regardless of what you do from here on out, you got to look at this time and say, yeah, you're right. I could have done things a lot differently. I could have done things a lot better, you know. But at the end of the day,
I'll be the first one to tell you, you could have done things different. You could have done things a lot better. You're damn right.
you're damn right.
Yeah, I mean, in the cold, harsh light of day, with all the evidence that you've got in front of me here, I have to say, yeah, I should have done better. That's a big old whoopsie daisy on old James Hanzey's part.
Oops.
But oops, don't you worry. I'm going to tighten this ship. It isn't usually until... Here's the thing. Competent employees are hard to come by. So usually you have to put 2, 3, maybe even 4 decades into them before they become competent.
Right. Right.
He was 6 years away from becoming passable.
So close.
But you know, when you're that close of an apartment, you know,
4
and I can
people.
tell you, let me tell you this.
Let's hold hands.
Please don't touch my paper, Jimmy. Your finger freaks me out.
Where this stands from. And you can believe me or you can't believe me.
Andy Davis.
The day Ron Small retired, Ron Small's Andy's father-in-law. Okay?
oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Hot damn,
Andy
Jimmy.
married Ron's daughter, Rhonda. All right?
It's on a 600, you know everybody? That's weird.
When Ron was retiring, Ron wanted to retire, and then he wanted to come back 3 days a week, and then I worked the rest of the week. I worked with him them 3 days, but I finished it out. He wanted to be the chief of police. He wanted to keep his sick time, and he wanted to keep his vacations 5 weeks a year.
And this has to do with your incompetence. How, Jimmy?
Mayor Baker said, No. I don't know what happened between them, but one day I come in the office and Ron said, if I would retire today, who would you put in your place?
I told him Ronald McDonald because he keeps a really tight leash on those fry guys. The Grimace knows what's up. And, you know, with your only problem, the Hamburglar, you know, Mary McCheese and the Whopper cop, whose name escapes me, you know, we got it under control.
I said, well, I'd probably put in Andy. He said, good, because if you had said for Maiden, I wasn't retiring. I'm retiring as of Friday. All right?
So you promoted Andy to sergeant because of that?
No.
Okay.
He said, Andy's your new sergeant. I've already worked it out with Mayor Baker. You're going to start him out at this amount of money. Okay.
Robble, indeed.
Didn't know I was going to put him on as sergeant or anything else. I thought maybe he'd just come on full time as a patrolman, but okay. Ron already worked everything out. So that was in 2013.
What does this have to do with anything?
2000.
Nothing. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just a clinging to normalcy and
How much
something.
time is left on this? There's nothing.
Like, it's another 10, 11, 12, 13 minutes. It doesn't matter. The moral of the story is like, that's the thing. It's like a bad interview. When everybody involved wants to be over, it wasn't pleasant. You know you're not got the job. But after all the official shit has gone down, it's like, well, maybe I'll try and sweeten it by talking, and the people will try and soften the blow that you're not right for the job by listening too much and sharing a little bit. It's just like neither of these people can make a clean break at this point. They're just like, okay, that's great, Jimmy. And he's like, yeah, 2 mayors ago.
2014, I reached the point where I could retire with Ohio Police and Fire.
Should have.
Okay? I asked the mayor, which was a new mayor.
Seriously, at that point, we had decades of corruption. Bow out, take your fucking pension.
Yeah,
maybe you still have your finger. Maybe you wouldn't have burned your heel clear to the bone on your Michael Scott bacon grill. Like, he's kind of like Sarah Boone in that at any point over the past 30 years, he could have kick-flipped his fuck up into just settling into obscurity. But he's like, you know what? Fuck that shit.
Clay Carroll. I'm to the point where I can retire. It's not going to do me a lot of good to work. Can I retire and can I come back? I said, this is what I'll do. I'll give you my sick time and I'll give you my vacation and I'll start at 0.
So they took my 16 hours and I started over.
I said, then you won't have to find someone. You already know I can do the job.
Oh, yeah, you're nailing it, Jimmy. Fucking nailing it.
He said, let me kick it around. 2 days later, he called me and said, yes, you can. It's all right. Went to the retirement board and I retired. Knowing Ron was going to be madder than hell. Ron's a very vindictive man. Ron's a very greedy man. And nothing in this world matters anything other than money to that man.
And he came to the right place. Because if I wanted to get fucking crazy rich and all I cared about was money, like those sweet, sweet greenbacks, I would pull up a map of the U.S. and I would throw a dart at Buckeye Lake, Ohio, and I say, that's where I'm starting.
That's it. Right there.
Follow the money. I heard Jesse Ventura say that. And you know what? I listened. Let me write to Buckeye Lake, Ohio.
Hey, it takes a village to get rich.
Okay?
The village of Buckeye Lake.
So I said, let me be the one to tell him. I think I can tell him in an easy way that will not piss him off. Boy, was I wrong.
His favorite word was bullfuck. You're about to hear that, spoiler alert.
He called me every name in the book in the Dollar General parking lot. He said this was his favorite words was bullfuck.
Bingo.
He left. He called.
But P.S. like bullfuck? Like bullshit.
Yeah.
Works 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you want to take it up, but like that half a step of obscenity from shit to fuck. I can't think of a better way.
He called one of our council members, just tore them a new ass.
Joking
He was
aside,
friends
when
with.
he's getting louder and more serious, he kind of sounds like Charles Manson did in his interview.
Yeah, a little bit, except, Charles Manson got up and did like some dancing and stuff, and there's no way James to leave in that chair unless the interview's over or he's forced out via handcuffs.
With Barry Heron. And then 2 weeks later, he calls the Mayor Carroll and tells Mayor Carroll that I'm worthless and I do nothing.
Turns out that was true. And P.S., these two dudes don't give a single shit. This
No.
guy has been an empty palm juice for the last 10 minutes. This guy is like, all right, I've got paperwork and I want to go home by 6. And this guy's like, so 3 mayors ago.
And I've never done anything. Threw me under the bus.
True.
So, this little book that we have here
Big.
is from his
Years.
son-in-law because Andy is the same damn way. There ain't nothing in this world that means more to Andy Davis
But
than
Jimmy,
money.
did Andy shoot a bullet through somebody's double wide?
He did not. He was also fighting brain cancer.
Oh, it's the same guy?
Yeah. The guy who kept the book, and maybe I'm forgetting, but I'm almost positive that Andy Davis, you can see his interview here on YouTube, he's the one who wrote this book and was like suffering from all these maladies on top of being like, this dude's fucked. And like, but for what point? Like his wife was like, you got to document it. If it didn't document it, it didn't happen. But even then, like he beat the cancer only to be like, got you, James. So I guess that's cool.
You know? So, this is driven from that. Guys, you can say, oh, this is a bunch of horse shit. You could, oh, he's full of shit. Tell that fat ass to go back to Buckeye Lake.
Tell that fat ass, skinny arm motherfucker.
That's the 110%
Chicken leg, allegedly.
truth, Gary.
Tell him to pull his smoke detector up off the counter and just take that. What is that? That looks like one of the.
By the microphone.
No, it looks like a smokeless ashtray that from Billy Peltzer's dad from Gremlins.
And I
Good
would take
reference.
the polygraph exam 1,400 times over, and it would come out the same. That
1401 though, who knows?
I'm telling you the truth. I've told you the truth all day today.
And I appreciate that, Jimmy.
I have nothing to hide. You know, yeah, you bring things up, should have been tightened up. You're right. I appreciate that. I hope you tell Mayor Wells that I don't have any training as being a big supervisor because every time we ask to go to training, we don't get it. It gets denied. They denied $48 freaking window tent. You think they're going to give me $320 to go to?
No, I understand that. We've got a deputy chief that'll do the same thing,
You
trying
know.
to get things and little tiny things, and he likes to poo-poo on everything like that. But we get it to an extent, believe me.
To an extent,
But,
Jimmy.
you know, just like the day that he says I was working, I put down as working, but I was four-wheeling. I didn't do that on purpose. That is 100,000% typo.
But why did you add 2 more hours out of your
That's
day,
just
Jimmy?
a big old whoops where I was like, whoops, I forgot to write PTO, and then I whoopsie daisy slipped on a banana peel and added 2 hours, and then there was an oil slick in the office, and I was like, whoa, holding the time card that I accidentally filled out with the extra hours. And by the time I got to the end of the hall and regained my composure, my hand had slipped the thing through the door. Oh, it can be done.
No. Poo-poo.
Poo-poo.
Poo-poo poi.
It's a classic, I came across that term from Blackadder, if you're familiar with that British comedy, but because it takes place in like medieval, the Renaissance, and yada yada, all the way up to like World War One. And so Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry are the like commanding officers. No, Hugh Laurie isn't, Stephen Fry is. But there's an entire episode that like a commanding officer is poo-pooing something And that becomes the running gag, is like Stephen Fry saying poo poo 777,000 times. It's not bad. Yeah, you know Blackadder. It's good shit.
I don't think I've ever listened to Hugh Laurie talk.
When he's in
With his
Blackadder, he's
English
got
accent.
his... Because he's originally a comedy actor, and he's got kind of like that... Because in Blackadder, he plays Prince George. He plays an officer serving under Blackadder. So it's Blackadder, Hugh Laurie, and Baldrick. And Baldrick's always Baldrick. So he's always the shit heel. In, the Renaissance or whatever, in the French Revolution, whatever, he's always the dog's body or the slave or the whatever. In World War II, he's like the dirty dude who... cooks up rat carcasses and dog turds for the company because he's like the whatever. It's a good show. Moral of the story.
I love Hugh Laurie.
I mean, I'm not angry at you guys.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
I certainly hope not.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed, Jimmy.
I'd be angry at you guys. It's nothing. You guys got dragged in the middle of only was supposed to have been an accidental shooting.
Right.
And then I
But that's investigations. Is once you slip a knife into that dead swordfish that you pulled up onto the deck, and you pull out a single squid, there's more in there. You're gonna have to keep pulling them out.
You find a giant
how all
binder
this
full
came
of
about.
shit.
I gotta go confirm something real quick with these guys and outside.
Watch
make
it.
sure
It's
that-
good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good to go. Yeah, I think that's why.
Hey, good news, Jimmy. We're good to go because
That's it.
we've got a few more minutes, but it's like a bunch of it's like the
Standing up
ending-
and
basically the ending of like a doctor's office appointment where they go, hey, is there anything else you want to talk about? And you go, not really. And you go, how are the kids? And, 3 minutes of like bullshit that you don't really care about, but there has to be a graceful exit. But that's it. Buckeye Lake lost the best chief it's ever had shortly after this.
I wonder who became the chief. Maybe
Who
Ritter.
knows? It doesn't matter. Like there's 4 of them.
Maybe it was Ritter.
I hope not, because he was like one of the shitty ones. No, Ritter was fine.
He was the one that gave him his gun, that he told him to give him his gun.
Right, and Vermaiden is the toad. But that's the thing. In a small town, the hierarchy is short. So, like in a big place, if like corruption will only go so far. If there's only 4 of you, chances are they're all going to be toadies,
Yeah.
except for the one guy keeping the book. But that's it. That's all we got. That was James Hanzey, no longer in Buckeye Lake, serving as police chief, and not even like for any real bad reason. Like nobody was killed. They didn't cover up any smuggling of drugs or
No, just a whole bunch of
abuse or
clerical
violence.
bullshit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's I think Futurama put it best, like when they were trying to find Bender's brain because Fry was having sex with that bureaucrat level whatever, and she was above Hermes and yada yada. For some people, you can have the spirit and the letter of the law, and for some people, being technically right is the best kind of right. Because if there's a law that says essentially and technically, despite it being divorced of like the reality of the situation or the severity, you can say, well, technically you got to go to jail. And that's James Hanzey. No one says like technically Dahmer ate someone. So technically, according to our messed up laws, he's got to go to jail. It's like, it was cut and dry. He killed some people and ate them. Jail. James is like, oh, you fudged a time card, a battery disappeared, a water pump flew out the hatch, you were at home watching Cops a couple of days.
We'll just vote you out to not have a job. The end. Like, seriously.
And so that's the thing. It doesn't matter when an investigation starts. It doesn't matter if you're Dahmer or if you're Hanzey. Your life is going to be ripped apart simply because of the pulling of one thread.
Yeah.
So don't be an idiot, right?
Yeah.
The Goonies. What's his name? What's the fat one's name? We did the Truffle Shuffle, right, guys? I don't know 80s references. I love the 90s. That's it, though. We covered it. James Hanzey, done and dusted. He's joined the roster of people we've covered. on that golden trophy on Mount Olympus somewhere.
Yes.
Laser etched. But I appreciate you guys showing up to partake of this. Happy Friday the 13th. Obviously, throw this baby up just to give you a little more action of that. That's it. So I don't know. The game shows might take a hiatus as I am still transitioning because I don't want everything to take such a quality dip that the core of the show turns to shit. So if we have to put everything in the back burner for a bit, we may. I've got plenty more interrogations and stuff and lots more training videos to do, so don't worry about that. The competitive edge might go a little by the wayside because I found some really awesome training videos from reputable fast food chains that I think you guys will really benefit from being employees of the FFOP family. Anyway, guys, that's it. So hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday. If not, definitely next Friday for another bit of something. So we like to do things on Friday. That's it. I'm very tired. I will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
For the try to